Hello everyone, this is Quiversee and welcome back to more Myst. Last time we began exploring the island of Myst, and I think we have learned that we are Catherine, aka the wife of this dude who's, like, made the magic book that teleports you between worlds, I think. I'm still not entirely certain on that. But we managed to get his message, and it sounds like something has gone on with the books. And it has to do with their kids? One of their kids, I think? I'm really not sure what I'm supposed to do at this point, unfortunately. I have a feeling that I gotta do something in order, like with this. That ship looks exactly like the actual big ship that's sunk. So something tells me I need to do something in order to get that ship up out of the well, and that'll allow me to go on the real ship. That's my guess. And that these boxes here have something to do with it. Also, if I leave a box, yeah, it stays the color. So I need to find out what color each of these needs to be. That's definitely a puzzle. But near the end of the last part, I also went down here in this catacomb. This is new. Oh! Okay. So I just turned on all the power. Power to spaceship. 1 through 10. So I think this turned off the power to the spaceship. Let me see if I can fix that. All right, let me wait for it to... I think I overloaded the power on the spaceship then, based on that. And now it's not turning on. Wait a minute, the breaker tower. I bet what happened was I tripped a breaker. What do you do when you trip a breaker? You reset it. Okay, yeah, because you can even see. If I can stop going in the wrong direction, you can see that the tower connects there. So I need to do that again. And I need to find a combination. Yeah, big spooky lights. I need to find a combination. Or not. Okay, I'm gonna leave the power on this time and see what happens. It still says there's no power to the spaceship. Anything happen if I do this again? Doesn't appear to. Okay, I guess I'll have to come back to that. What about this? Well, I'm not gonna be able to figure out that the valves, the way they're oriented, but where is this log cabin? So what can I interact with here? That's red, and it doesn't seem to let me interact with it. Looks like a pressure gauge. That looks like something I should be able to interact with, but it's not. And then we got this, which I am not sure what I'm supposed to do with. I mean, I know what I'm supposed to do with it, but I don't know what the code is. Why can't I turn this? What's with the red icon? Don't get me started on these marker switches. I still don't know what they're about. Man. All right. Yeah, I know it said no power to the spaceship, but let's go to the spaceship. Let me in? No. I'm really not sure what to do, because I'm not crazy, like, right? The power was going to the spaceship earlier, right? Is the power still on? Yeah, the power's still on. Power's off. I'm just gonna turn on a few of these buttons kind of at random. Power switches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know what the numbers mean. Well, I'm kind of stumped. Then there's these. Whoa! Okay. I thought I had clicked that before. I guess I'm going to the library. I thought I was already in a library. Oh, library, book. I like it. And I guess I can go back to the tower if I wanted to, but I am going to keep looking around. Can I do anything here? Hello? Ah, hello. Another ladder. Nope. Okay. Library. It has a picture of a key on it. I don't seem to be able to do anything from here. I can face the elevator shaft. Anything I can do from up here? No. I can just turn back and forth here. Okay. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do there, but I know it's there. There's 2 ladders, one with a book, one with a key. And I have to push the button that says library to go there from the library. And I can't, like, go around it, fortunately, so I can't go behind it. Also, I'm just gonna take a wild guess that this will reset the library. Yep, that resets it. Okay, so that's good to know. You know what, let's go ahead and read another book. I have called this age Channelwood, and it is a very different world. Though it is exactly how I imagined it, it is still amazing to see it with my own eyes. Water covers this age as far as I can see, except for a small rocky island. Elsewhere there are only trees which grow directly out of the water. A myriad of thin wooden passageways are built just above the water and disappear into the forest. I assume they were built some time ago, for they appear aged. I am eager to discover more about this land and its people, but I have arrived here late and I must rest. I was awakened this morning by strange noises coming from a pathway adjacent to the one on which I had slept. I saw a group of monkey-like people heading in my direction. They had not seen me yet. I did not feel threatened by their presence. Their response to me was one that I would have never expected. After staring at me for a short time, they fell to their knees and began what appeared to be some sort of ceremonial worship. I tried to speak to them, but they did not understand my language. Instead, they indicated through enthusiastic hand motions that I was to follow them. As we walked, I began to notice that the waters below us were changing colors. Slowly, subtly, they would change from deep blue to muddy orange, then from muddy orange to beautifully clear. I was so intrigued by the water that I hardly noticed that we had arrived at a ladder. Climbing the ladder led us to their village, which is about 10 meters above the water and can only be reached by rope ladders that stretch from the lower paths up to the village level, approximately halfway up the grand trees. It is very interesting to watch these people carry out their daily tasks. Even after watching them for hours, I did not understand exactly what they were doing. At sunset, they motioned for me to follow them. I followed the creatures to the doorway of an enormous hut. Strangely, once inside, I found that the hut appeared even larger than it had from the outside. The walls were garrisoned with bright metals, and in the center of the hut sat the leader of these people. At least he appeared to be their leader, for he sat a meter off the floor in a thick throne. Guards surrounded the strong creature, who was dressed in many exotic, colorful fabrics. Next to the leader sat a very old human. At least to some extent he appears human. His hair, which was only on his face and head, was completely gray, almost white, and hung very long around his frail body. His thin head hung limply by an almost grotesque neck that could not hold its head up to look at me. But what a surprise, this creature could speak my language. Shortly thereafter, I was given a bed with some hand motions that looked to be telling me to go to sleep. I look forward to learning more. As I suspected, the ancient creature is a human. but he is old beyond his own reckoning and seems almost insane. However, the tree dwellers almost revere him as a god. They are treating me now in the same fashion, which makes me feel very uncomfortable. It is almost impossible to understand this old man. His voice is feeble but wild. He has adopted much of the language of the tree dwellers. He himself told me that he had not spoken our own tongue in ages. He attempted to explain to me the history of this place. The following is my best translation of what he has told me. Many years ago, the humans and tree dwellers lived together in this place, which was then a vast island. They interacted very little. The humans dwelt on the ground and the tree dwellers lived high above the humans. Occasionally, the island was disturbed by mysterious rumblings which happened randomly. Some sort of tectonic or volcanic action, I suspect. The sometimes slight, sometimes heavy tremors would only last a short time. Then they would stop, allowing everything to return to normal. One day, things changed. The rumbling began and grew quickly to unprecedented levels. Soon, it became apparent that the entire island was sinking slowly into the ocean around them. Many of the humans died that day, but not before sacrificing themselves in order to stop the sinking of the island. The humans who lived through this catastrophe moved up into the trees where they gradually died out. Maybe because they were unequipped for such an environment, but I'm not sure. This is the story the old man communicated to me, although many details are very unclear in my mind. I'm especially confused as to how the humans saved the island from completely sinking. In fact, I doubt the accuracy of that part of the story. The island must have stopped on its own. Yet the old man believes in the truth of the story as if he had been there, and the tree dwellers worship him, and apparently all humans, as if they were heroes or gods. The old man ended our conversation today with an event which I will never forget. He began gripping my hands tightly, murmuring something about rest and asleep. He then said, "We had expected you to come sooner." These actions filled me with a sort of immediate dread. With much effort, he stood to his feet. I tried to help, but he pushed me away with more force than I imagined his frail body contained. The tree dwellers quietly surrounded him with very solemn faces. They then kneeled before him. He walked to each and placed his hand on their heads. All the while, he murmured words which I did not understand. Finally, he turned to me and smiled. Then he closed his eyes and walked out the door and off of the narrow path high in the trees. The tree dwellers were silent. They began a procession down the nearest rope ladder. As I was descending, I saw several of them pick up the body. He had fallen onto a lower level walkway and carry it away. He was laying down at the dead end of a short pier-like structure. With the use of some potion, one of the tree creatures, it lit the pier on fire, and I watched as the flames engulfed him. As this strange funeral proceeded, the waters around the pier changed to a dull green. This morning, I awoke, finding it hard to even believe the previous evening's events. The water is dull green for as far as I can see now. For some reason, the water no longer shifts color. As I wander throughout the pathways, the creatures watch me, curious to see what I will do next. They are constantly offering me strange objects of affection. I even found food outside the doorway to the room in which I had slept. This is a unique race of beings. I hope to learn their language soon so that I may learn more from them. Why does the text change color here? That is suspicious. Okay then. I have lived on this world for 3 months off and on, and the tree dwellers have shown great hospitality. I am even beginning to learn bits of their language. I've decided to return home for an extended stay with my loving wife and my sons, and hopefully return with them. However, I am sure Catherine will once again refuse. I think this age would be a wonderful experience for them all, and I at least look forward to how Cirrus and Achenar will react to its curious inhabitants. Okay, so if I remember right, the message that he left us said Achenar is his prime suspect for messing with the books or whatever. Gotta remember that. Catherine is staying behind as expected. My sons have returned with me, and they enjoy this age very much. They get along very well with the tree dwellers and are picking up their language surprisingly fast. I have no doubt that it will not be too long until they can speak with the tree dwellers much better than myself. I am leaving tomorrow to check on Osmoian age? Osmoian age? I can't tell if that's an I-N or an M. I'm gonna go with M. Osmoian. That flows better. I'm leaving to check on the Osmoian age. Cirrus has suggested that I allow him and his brother to stay. Though the idea unsettles me, I know the boys are growing up rapidly. The hospitality of these creatures is such that I could think of no better place to leave them alone for a short while, so I will consent to their request. I warned the boys not to take advantage of the respect the tree dwellers have for their ideas. They seem to understand my warning, and I have faith they will follow it. Much to my dismay, upon arriving in Everdunes, I learned that Pran and her people are continuing to be menaced by the Choctic. I fear for their survival and plan on returning to her shortly after checking on Cirrus and Achenar here. See Everdune's journal for more information. Okay. After watching Cirrus and Achenar, I see they are handling things very well, and I think I can put to rest any fears about leaving them in Channelwood again. And for a little longer time. This is getting way harder to read. The tree dwellers seem slightly distressed that I am leaving, but are happy that Cirrus and Achenar are staying behind again. I have been gone for over 3 days and have been to many different places. I had to tell Cirrus and Achenar about Pran's death today, and they were visibly shaken, although they only remembered her from their childhood. Catherine has suggested that it would be wise for Cirrus and Achenar to leave Channelwood for a while, and I have to agree. They'll be returning with me when I leave again. I've told my sons that they'll be returning with me in 2 days. They spent the entire night telling me of an adventure they experienced in my absence, and it was rather remarkable. It seems they constructed a boat with the creatures and traveled some ways out into the surrounding waters. I enjoy hearing them talk excitedly of their adventures, and am reminded of my own adventures as a child. I finally understand why the tree dwellers have been giving me their many inks and insisting I write with them. Oh my lord. Of course. At least we're getting an explanation. Looking through some of my past entries, I see now that the inks have changed from the black I thought they were to various different colors. I have shown some of the creatures my journal, and they laughed and howled. I did not know they had such a sense of humor. Even now, as I look back through this very colorful journal, I cannot help but laugh myself. We will be returning tomorrow, so my sons are with the creatures for the last night here. They have told me they would like to come to Channelwood again, and also asked if they can visit some other ages alone. Though I will have to think over their request, I believe they have proven to me that they are trustworthy and responsible. Catherine will also have to help me decide whether they are ready for travel alone. For now, I must give my farewells to the creatures, for I do not know how long it will be until I visit the sage again. Oh, and I guess these are some diagrams of what he saw there. So from what I can gather, the text color changes in a similar way that the watercolor would change. And I wonder, to me, it seems like it had something to do with emotion. You know, like, especially when the water turned, like, that dull green color when they had the funeral. That's how that comes across to me. As an aside, I still have no idea what I'm doing. Can I get the message to play again? Maybe I need to enter the code in again. Oh, it was 8, right? Pretty sure it was 8.
Catherine, my love, I have to leave quickly. Something terrible has happened. It's hard for me to believe. Most of my books have been destroyed. Catherine, it's one of our sons. I suspect Achenar, but I shouldn't leap to conclusions. I'll find him and Cirrus as well. Oh, I should have known better than to have left my library unchecked for so long. Well, I've removed the remaining undamaged books from the library and placed them in their places of protection. You shouldn't have to use the books until I return. But if you've forgotten the access keys, remember the tower rotation. Oh, and don't worry, Catherine.
Okay, I'm stopping it there. He said, if you forgot the access key, remember the tower rotation. That is what he said. Unfortunately, I have no idea how to rotate the tower. But I know what it is trying to say. Because I think that it's like, this is the tower. This takes me to the tower. So I need to find a way to rotate it. Or was this rotating it? This might be all it was talking about, actually. Huh. Still have no idea what these are for, aside from just counting them. Wait a minute. Oh, look at that. The dials, they affect the clock. Okay. I don't know how this is important, but this is important. And that button probably summons the bridge when the clock is in the correct position. I could brute force that without too much trouble, but I choose not to. And instead choose to try and actually solve it. I still think it has something to do with the gears up here, but there's like no way I can interact with anything up here except for the switch. I still don't know what that would do. Curiouser and curiouser. Let's see. And then I haven't figured out anything I can do in here yet, right? I don't think I've seen any dates anywhere. Don't even get me started on those switches. I still feel like what I should be doing at this point is opening the spaceship. And I feel like I messed up and I need to find a way to reset the breaker. But I don't know how. I'm just gonna try it again for the heck of it. Does the power connect to anything else besides the breaker switch, the ship, and the cabin? It doesn't connect over there. Yeah, no, it just connects directly into there. Let me go back to the switch. Like the breaker switch. How do I get there again? This way. Is there, like, any indicator of a number? I don't see anything. Wait, that's making a different sound now. Hold on, I think I did something different this time. It's working again! I fixed it! Okay. Okay. I think I get it. Once this gets to a certain number, it overloads, and I have to reset the breaker. And I think what I was doing wrong... Let me go back to the breaker really quick. Because if you listen... Nothing. No, wait. No, I heard it make a loud clunk sound earlier, I thought. And like it was tripped. It was visibly tripped. Let me find it again, because it's like I saw a different... Whoa, hello. I am apparently now somewhere else. Hello, ladder. There's a second breaker switch. That's the mystery. I solved the mystery. Okay. Let's see what happens when it's at 40. I know that it goes past 50 and it starts to, you know, overload. It's making a noise. So I'm right in that I have to do this to get into the ship. But it doesn't have enough power. I need to add more. All right, then. That just adds +1. That adds +7. That adds +8. That adds +12, and now it's tripped. Wait, that added 22, actually. Okay, hang on. 1, 2, 10, 7, 8, 16, 5, 9, 19. So I'm gonna try just those 3 and see if 57 trips the breaker. Now I gotta flip the breaker. Okay, it's not that one. It's the other one. This is almost as annoying as dealing with a real breaker. Almost. No, no, no. Actually, with the navigation system in this game, it's probably more annoying. Yep. Clunk. It feels good to actually have that figured out. Okay. Let's power a spaceship. 57 is okay. 58. 60 is too much. Which means it's either 58 or 59 is the limit. So I'm gonna go trip the breaker again. And then I'll try 59. And if that crashes it, then I know to just leave it at 58, and then I can go and try the ship. Let's do it! Wait for everything to turn on. $59. All right, Mr. Spaceship. The breaker doesn't like it when I go any higher than this. Let me in. Yeah. Welcome to Spaceship. Okay. Oh. Okay, I apparently steer it with music. I could just play around with this for hours, just for the heck of it. But I'm not gonna. But I have... Okay, hang on. What notes are these? Alright, let me just see what happens if I do this. Something easy. Nope. Okay. So it's not just, you know, do whatever and then make it match. I need to figure out an actual code and do that. Well, I'm glad I figured out how to get in here, at the very least, but, I'm not really sure what all I can do with this at the moment. Man, if I actually have to transcribe that, that's gonna suck. I do not know. I can just go in and out of it, please, right? Okay, good. Well, we made some sense of progress. So I think I'm gonna stop it there, for now. And I guess next time on Myst, I'm gonna see if I can figure out the mystery of this spaceship. 'Cause I got nothing. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.